Round 11 team list. What a pain in the ass Mr. Sticky is. That's all I got to say. He done it again. Done it always, done it again. We'll get to that, but let's start with the Knights and the Broncos there. And, the Knights side of things, a few changes actually. We got Milford in at number 6, which is interesting. Definitely not an option coming into this week, but you can decide what you want to do with him. I know a lot of people are big fans and love his work and always like, oh, he's super cheap. Let's get him in there and have some fun, but not for me. Randall, 9 jerseys still, but Crossland in 14, so he should get some minutes there. I'd imagine Barnett at 13 is going to get some decent minutes, so he moves from the edge into the middle with Frizzell coming back. So for me, it doesn't change too much. He gets more minutes on the edge, less minutes in the middle, kind of averages out to a very similar score. It's up to you if you want to be picking him up. Obviously not playing in 13, so if you're a head-to-head type of player, then he could be a guy for you. If you're an overall guy, I think there's some better middle forwards and edges to pick up this week. They got plenty of guys that can play, obviously, through the middle on the interchange bench, so I definitely think Randall will be getting that spell and probably a sell this week. So, we spoke about him last week as potentially being that way, and I think it's time to do that now. We have Gags, we have Clifford, and also Brody Jones in the reserve, so just keep that in mind as well when you're looking to pick up certain players that Milford might not actually play with Clifford there, or Clifford will come off the bench or something. I don't know. Do you name Milford and then not play him? I feel like that'd be strange. On the Broncos side of things, we see Tamari Martin actually named in number 1, which is interesting. So Cobbo stays on the wing. I think that's better for him at this stage of his career. He's just building up some form, to be honest, on the wing, and I think that's it's better for him to stay there at this point. But what do I know? Walters in at 9 again, so nothing changes there. Hopefully another decent score if you own him. Potentially, I would be looping him if you can. And there's a few guys out this week, so this would be loop central, this one. Potentially a double loop for those that are holding a couple of those Raiders guys, like myself. All right, Paddy Carrigan, we'll speak about him again, but definitely still a solid option. Just the issue of, you obviously know round 13 play, but he could be a guy in round 14 that a lot of guys pick up if you don't want to do it now. That's for sure. But that's the first game of the week. So Tigers v the Dogs. And we see a very similar team for them. Obviously, Madden, it comes in for Brooks, so Hastings is going to do a lot more of the work, you would say, like he has been doing anyway, but Hastings still a great option. Obviously, without playing 13 is a little bit of an issue, but he's obviously a great option to pick up for anyone's side with how he's scoring at the moment, getting over 50 every week. In terms of the rest of the guys, I spoke about Sticky, but I'm loving this one too. Kelmer in at 14. For Garner, okay. Garner's been playing in the centres, and now he takes over that spot. Not sure if that's going to stay or if Kelmer comes in and starts, but if you own him, probably not an urgent sell, but are you going to play him this week? I would attempt not to. He could be part of that double loop as well, if you could do that. But very painful for Tuolangi to get that 14 jersey after how well he scored on the weekend. If they could just use him better, he'd play better. Anyway, Dogs. We got Burton still there. Still a solid option. This could be hopefully a close game for him. Let's see if they rally after losing coach. That's usually how it works. It ends up that way. Jackson's still a great buy. I'll speak about him in the next video. Tavita Pangai is definitely a hold. Obviously, you want some improvement from him this week after his poor score last week. Jackson Torpene, he gets that edge role there. But we've got a 1 week out from, what's his name again? Corey Waddell. Waddell's out for a week, so he should probably get back into that spot. But expect Jackson to score pretty well in for his first game for the year. So that's that with the Dogs. Not really much else to speak about. Max King, just continue to either play him or bench him, up to you, but keep him in your side. He should still get some decent minutes. The last week was obviously a pretty short stint for him with 26, so he should lift on that just to go back to where his average and base is for the season so far. So Eels. Still see Penasini in the centres and Brown at 6, which is solid if you own those two. We'd like a better game from at least Dylan Brown. Somewhere over 50 would be ideal, please. Papali'i, obviously a must-have. I'm personally going to wait until 14. Just don't have the funds to be able to get him now. He's too expensive. Ryan Madison in the 13 role, if you're looking at him. So Brown goes back to the bench. So Madison, after playing so well, gets that 13 role, which he's been playing either there or on the edge, or a mixture of it all when he comes off the bench. So I still think I'd rather, if he's going to start and play big minutes, I'd rather be on the edge, because through the middle he's going to get lower minutes. But he's been playing that well that he can continue to do so. But up to you guys whether you want to pick him up. I'm personally going to leave him out at this point. Trbojevic is named, which is good for him, good for Manly up against a tough squad in the Eels, but obviously a bunch of little knocks and stuff. Let's hope that he can get through safely. Morgan Harper comes in. Unfortunately, Ben Trbojevic is out with a shoulder injury, so he's gone this week, and Harper replaces him. Tuipulotu and Kola still remain in the squad, which is ideal if you own them. DCE, obviously a rougher week last week, and not as crazy the week before either, so due for him to have a massive week, I'm going to call a 65 plus for DCE. Mark my words, see how that goes. Olakau'atu, definitely a solid option as well. I think I'll be speaking about him in my next video as well. A few people asked me about him as someone who's playing in round 13, so he can definitely be a potential switch for any of the options that you like in your squad. We have Schuster on the bench, so he could come in for Davey at any point in this next few days as well. Just be aware of that if you are thinking of playing Davey. The Schuster could come in fairly quickly, either on game day or 24 hours before. So just be aware of that. And they play early enough that you can make the decision anyway. Ramsey comes in for Sloan. Another short stint for Tyrell, unfortunately. Sully and Lomax scoring well. Ben Hunt, do we give him another crack? I think you do against the Warriors. Potentially, if you're going to move him on, maybe in round 13. My head-to-head squad still has him, and thankfully had a good game on the weekend. We see a bit of an odd opening pair here. We've got Josefsky in at 12. Sims back on the bench. We have Maguire out as well. Sorry, I was trying to work out his name. He's out this week as well, which I wouldn't be looking at Josefsky at all. In terms of the Warriors, a few people actually have mentioned to me that, which is a very fair point, which is kind of what I've been talking about. He's getting fairly cheap now, hasn't really scored any tries or had many attacking stats, and that's Reece Walsh. So if you're still interested in him, he's still at his cheapest, and I doubt he gets any cheaper than he does. This could be a game where he breaks out, but remains to be seen at this point. It's like the Crichton one. He's had one good game so far, and we're all kind of hoping that he comes out and dominates, but hasn't done so yet. Dejan Arce has had a really great bunch of weeks, so well done to anyone who picked him up early on. He's done really well. Tavanga at 9 is obviously going to score pretty well over this next bunch of weeks, so I can understand why people picked him up and why people still looking to continue to grab him. Ewan Aiken back in the second row jersey, which is lovely. We definitely need him this week, well I do. And Tohu Harris is named in the number 12 jersey, which he was last week, and moved back to the bench. So I think over the next few weeks, we just let his price drop a little bit, let him get back into his rhythm, and then we pick him up in the next week or the week after, I think is the way to go with Tohu. And Murchie's in there at 13. Just, thinking of the Jazz Tavanga one, you've still got Lussick coming in and playing big minutes, so Tavanga will play a little bit of middle, a little bit of 9, like he has done for a lot of his career. So that's how that one will work out. Cowboys v the Storm, going to be a really fun game, this one. I hope that the Cowboys bring it, and I'm just worried of how smashed the Storm got last week, and they'd be looking for the comeback game with Hughes back in. They obviously lose Nass, which isn't ideal for them. Brandon Smith comes into the 10 jersey. I'll speak about him as well in the next video. Obviously a cheaper price at the moment, and could potentially be an option now that Nass is out and Smitty's going to start for the next bunch of weeks. They just don't play in round 13. That's the big issue there. Cowboys guys, obviously we've got Cotter, Gilbert, Nanai, Tamalolo, who are all pretty fantasy relevant, and the main issue with Cotter is just the fact that he's a good chance of playing Origin now with how well he's been playing. So definitely a bench spot. If you imagine he gets a bench spot, he doesn't really lose any games for the Cowboys. So if you're happy with his scoring on a weekly basis and you think that he's going to be priced a lot higher than what he is currently with all his great scores, then he could be an option that you just miss that extra game. So that's the thoughts on Cotter, but I'll speak about him further in the next video. Meany number 2, Wishart number 1. So again, without the Storm playing in round 13, Wishart's a little bit of an annoying option because you get him for a couple of weeks now without incredible scores. Well, he didn't last week, and there's a chance that continues to stay the same, although they should play a little bit better and he should get involved a little bit more. Just the 13, him missing out on 13 is a big issue. Hughes is back, so I think you got to hold on to him if you hopefully still have him, which there'll be a few that don't still. Josh King all the way, hold him all the way to 14 at least. And then Harry, hope for a bounce back game from him. But move to the Roosters and the Panthers there. Teddy's obviously been solid. Last week was 48 for him, and he's going to have to step up if they want to beat the Panthers for sure. Joey Manu, also a solid option. Suali'i has also been decent. Guys like Kiri, I think, are coming into their own a little bit into the season. They're obviously scoring a lot better. Price is obviously fairly low still, so we'll have a look at him next video as well. Connor Watson, just a mix of minutes between the bench and the starting team, and not getting that full 80 just takes him out of the way as an option, I think. Just worry about Manu this week up against a good team, but he's obviously could definitely hold his own against Tonga on that left-hand edge for them. So I think he's going to be a decent option either way. For him last year, for example, he scored well against good teams. He scored well against the lesser teams, and I think we might have a buy of the week in this forward pack. So let me know who you think that is, and we'll let you speculate on that until the next video comes out. But yeah, definitely someone in here I'm going to be spending a lot of time on in that next video. So jump in the comments and let me know who you think that is. On the Panthers side of things, we got all the guys. They're named 1 to 17, so everything stays the same. The Tungolme and Crichton combination there, all great. Cleary, I'd still be captaining him again, but up to you if you want to change to a Papali'i or something like that. And Rabbitohs Raiders, so very interesting ones for these guys. We see the same back seven there with Bolo there as well. Into that centre jersey, unfortunately, we see Mr. Trent Peoples, our cheapie, who comes into the 12 role with Toast obviously out. Arrow's going to be in 13 for a little while. We're going to see some decent scores out of Trent. Main issue again is that 13 role. Is round 13 there where he won't be playing. So you miss out on that, and then do you get round 14 and 15 or just round 14? So how many rounds do you get? Do you just get 11, 12, 14, or do you get an extra one where you can make some decent cash for you? But yeah, up to you on that one. It's going to be a little bit of a risk, but we'll speak about him a little bit further in the next video as well. David Wiley's in that 15, but yeah, not really scoring too well. Cook always going well. Ilias, just keep holding at least until round 13. You can work it out from there. In the Raiders side of things, our big issue here is Adam Elliott at 18 and Schneider at 19. So very, very frustrating that Schneider gets the boot after being there the whole season. But obviously, they haven't played incredibly well. But even after a win last week, maybe they're putting that down to Frawley and his efforts rather than putting it down to Schneider. So Frawley keeps the spot. He was kind of running the team a bit more anyway than what Schneider was. So I can understand why they're gone for Frawley, but it's weird that they trusted Schneider from the start when they had Frawley there the whole time, to then just boot him as a young fella after this many weeks. I don't know. Obviously, it's fine if you get punted for a bunch of weeks. It could be an injury or something, and he comes back in and plays the rest of the season anyway. So if you own him, frustrating. You're hoping that Whiten gets a 14 role in round 13 of Origin there. But yeah, frustrating. I'd probably give it a week, see what happens, and then go from there. Starling still named in 14, so we see Wolford in there as well. Again, I'd just be too scared to pick up someone like him. The minutes that he's going to get, he scored pretty well last week, but can he do that again? I don't think he can against the Bunnies, but up to you and your thoughts on that one. Chan's still sticking in that one jersey. The rest of the guys are very, very similar in terms of the positions there. It's just the Elliott. Where does he come back into? That's the question. Does he take Wolford's spot? I'm hoping that Elliott jumps in last minute and takes a spot and we can end up playing him, but yeah, that remains to be seen. I'm not even going to speculate on that one, to be honest. Titans v the Sharks there. We saw a much better game and high scores from a lot of these guys, but this has to be the game that the Sharks bounce back, doesn't it? No, there's really no options here in the Titans side, and the Sharks there. Hines moves back to 7, and we see the rugby convert Lachlan Miller getting his first chance at number 1. So I think Fitzy realised pretty quickly that Hines was the man that needed to be back in the helm after a few shaky weeks, 2 out of 3 shaky weeks now, and he'll be back there, and he obviously becomes a decent captaincy option again this week if you want to pick him up against the Titans there. So that's that. Talakai, I think you can give him one more week if you want to up against the Titans. Definitely has an opportunity to do well if you think he can. Also has a chance to score a 30 or 40 again and lose you a fair bit of cash. So I'm personally going to be moving him on. I just think I'm going to need the cash, to be honest, to upgrade a few issues. I've got Elliott, Schneider out. Thankfully, not many other real cheapies like Davy and stuff that I don't want to play, thankfully. But yeah, not ideal there. Cam McInnes, obviously a great option now, considering that Finucane is out. So it looks like 4 to 6 weeks. He did a little bit of an MCL injury alongside his concussion. So probably a good thing that he Well, not a good thing he's injured, but good thing that he can actually get some rest from the concussion, because he's had a bunch. Just reading up on NRL physio there, he's had 4 in the last 10 months, which is not good, obviously. So rest up for Finucane, and the rest of them there. McInnes will be able to hold the fort, and all the boys will in that time. We know how tough as nails Finucane is, so it'd be good to get him a little bit of a rest and get him right for the back end of the year, to be honest. So McInnes, solid option. We'll speak about him a little bit further. All right, so that is all. There's the team list for round 11. Obviously, a fair bit happening in those ones. Let me know your thoughts. How many players you got out from this group? Have you got anyone returning? What trades are you thinking of making this week? Drop them in the comments. Drop them in the chat in the Discord group, and everyone can is great in discussion there. Plenty of guys that are doing really well. I know a lot of these, but I think we've got number 2, 5, 6 out of the top 10 in our community, which is pretty cool. But get around it, guys. Subscribe, like this channel, and we'll catch you in the next video. See you later.